Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on Steam Deck. This is a preview, so the developer sent over a demo for me to try if I wanted to check it out early. The game is coming out in around 2 months, which is rare for me to play a game so early, but I'm going to provide feedback and all that. So it's a 26GB download. It's a very small portion of the game, obviously, so let's get into it and see what happens. Alright, so welcome to the options menu. The options menu actually has presets, and funnily enough, they don't allow us to choose resolution. It uses the one of your screen. And by default, it's on low, and this affects the resolution scale. This seems to be TSR, the Unreal Engine 5 resolution scaler. Then when it comes to post-processing, they have a good amount of options. I like to be able to disable film grain and chromatic aberration and motion blur. And then when it comes to the other options, everything is on low. So again, classic UE5 game when it comes to this. So let's do what the game asks, play on the low preset with 50% resolution, which internally should be 400p instead of the 800p of the Steam Deck. I'm a bit ahead of when the game launches. I played like half an hour. I kind of speedran through it to see all it had to offer. But this is basically a UE5 game. I think on low it still looks good, but of course we're playing at 50% resolution. So it looks like a very low resolution UE5 game. When it comes to performance, this is a turn-based game. Not sure if you ever played Persona or something like that. This feels very similar to it. So if I want to attack this one, I do it like this. I'm going to use a skill. And there's quick time events. These for attacks are optional, but if you're parrying or dodging, like I'm going to do right now, that I failed, you need some timing to it. There I go. I did it correctly. I hit parry just on time. In games like this that are turn-based, I don't usually mind having drops below 30 FPS. On this one, you need to dodge and parry attacks. So I think that's an important distinction to make. Because for example, when I'm playing, I don't know, Final Fantasy, one of the turn-based ones, or Persona, it's okay if it drops below 30. And by okay, I mean it's fine, it's not unplayable. But here you need to parry and dodge, and it's a very central thing with the gameplay. I don't know how I did that, but the timing is important. The quick time events though don't feel difficult to do. You just need to pay attention. So as you can see, this feels very much like a Persona game when it comes to the combat. And you have some traversal to do over here.
An advantage.
But again, you need to actively parry and dodge when you're getting attacked, so I don't think we have a lot of room to spare when it comes to the being below 30 FPS. But so far it's pretty demanding, at least at this state. I think it's time to show you how it looks like on the smaller screen, because we're at 50% resolution, and honestly, in a bigger screen, it has a lot of chunkiness, especially on the characters when there's movement. Classic TSR artifacts. So let's see how it looks on the smaller screen. So looking at this cutscene, we're dropping frames. I wouldn't say it's a huge deal in cutscenes, but we'll see once we are in an actual bigger combat. Let me skip this, no spoilers obviously. And this is more of a boss fight. And as you can see, we're still... Ooh, it's attacking us. We're still into the 30s with these settings. Again, the absolute lowest with 50% resolution. But there's a lot of particles. I love the art style of the game. It's just... On the Steam Deck, it's pretty low resolution, obviously. There it goes. But again, my main concern would be the text size, well, timing the parrying correctly. Because the parries has some timing to them. But overall, we're hitting 30s just fine with these settings. Which again, is the lowest, but the fact that we can run this on a Steam Deck, at least, well, 2 months before release. Since we are at the lowest settings with the lowest resolution scale, I would probably just increase the anti-aliasing a little bit. And then when it comes to the rest of the options, I'll keep them the same, but the resolution scale probably at 65%, This is similar to what quality upscaling will look like. So we apply the settings, but I gotta say the text feels very small, at least when it comes to the UI while playing the game. So we're doing low settings with quality TSR, I'll call this. So let's see if we can maintain 30s like this. Okay, we're very borderline 30 right now. Let's do an effect, maybe electricity. Oof. Yeah, when effects show up, it drops much harder, but when it comes to the resolution, it's significantly better. Yeah, I could parry just fine. So probably what I would do, again, the game is still not out, I'll recommend the developers to add more upscaling options. TSR looks very chunky, at least in my opinion. But low settings I still think still looks good. Show you a different moment. But as you can see right now, just standing here, I'm getting borderline 30s. Alright, so I'm now in a different location, and here the low settings are more noticeable, at least when it comes to lighting and the pop-in of the foliage. But again, if on low settings we're getting this performance, we're going to try medium very quick. But I think the best way, at least right now, before the game is out, is to just basically lock it to 30 and put the resolution at 65% with low settings. Oh man, the timing. I get the timing wrong each time. So you had those QuickTime events, which you can actually disable if you don't like QuickTime events, but the pairing and the dodging, that's not skippable. So you have to do the timing correctly, which I like. But if you drop below 30 FPS, it might get more difficult, I guess, because it requires, again, some timing. For experimenting purposes, let's put this on medium. Medium gives us 75% resolution, and everything else on the medium preset, just to see what it looks like. But I'm going to put the resolution scale at 60%, just to be safe. So medium settings and 60% resolution. But still, I would probably stick to low with 65% resolution. Let's do... I don't have points. This is just attack. Ooh, looking good. But as you can see, when effects show up, there we go. I did the parry! When effects show up, it drops significantly. Which also, funnily enough, happened in the trailer. When I saw the gameplay trailer, when effects were on screen, it dropped below 30 clearly. I could see it in the trailer. So I'm not surprised, honestly. But with 60% resolution, I'm pretty impressed that we can do medium settings, all things considered. Medium looks pretty good. It's not that low looks horrible. It's okay, but medium, I think it looks like a modern game. But again, we're talking about a preview and very few levels, only a couple of them that I can access. So while I'm now standing in combat, I'm going to give you my thoughts and some feedback to the developers. First of all, I really love how the game focuses on eye candy when it comes to the effects. Clearly, it tries to be a visual spectacle. What I do not like so far about this build is that it doesn't have a resolution option. It only uses your native res. And I don't like that it only has TSR, which is the Unreal Engine upscaler. Looks pretty chunky, at least in my opinion, but that's because we're on a low resolution. Still, I think it would be nice to have those options, because I haven't played this on my RTX 4090 for a few minutes. And the edges, even at native 4K, had shimmering on the hair and all that. Pretty classic artifact from using TSR on Unreal Engine 5 games. Then when it comes to the Steam Deck performance, there's some traversal stutter there that you could see. Not a major thing because you only do turn-based combat, but the combat itself, I like the turn-based nature of it. It reminded me a lot of Persona. In that case, 30 FPS should be enough, but when it drops into the 20s, I'm not sure I'll be able to consistently parry those attacks. Still, personally, I was expecting way worse performance than this on the Steam Deck, because the game is not out yet, and it's UE5, so you know what that means. Generally, UE5 games perform horribly. In this area, actually, we get mid-20s on medium settings. So probably low, at least right now, is the way to go on Steam Deck. So it will look chunky and pixelated, but it's a UE5 game on deck, so kinda to be expected. So while this performance is not great, mid-20s for pairing, I don't think it's good. I think you should stick to low settings if you're playing this preview. But again, huge respect to the publisher for allowing people to actually play a few levels 2 months before release. They didn't say, oh, you cannot show this, you cannot show that. They were like, yeah, sure, do whatever you want. Here's the preview. And I was like, okay, I'll show performance on Steam Deck and on PC. So if you saw my PC live stream,
this will be useful.
It's linked in the pinned comment. The game does run very poorly at the moment. But when it comes to visuals, I think the visual spectacle, super surrealistic view of it is pretty cool. I just wish, hopefully, in the future they add FSR, XeSS, maybe DLSS for the Nvidia users. But I do enjoy the combat. I just wish we could hit 30s on Steam Deck. Hopefully, when the game releases on low, we can actually hold it at 30 at all times. But when it comes to this preview, medium I think it looks pretty superior. But being able to play on low, even if it's 50% or 65% resolution, I think it's pretty impressive when it comes to the Steam Deck. State 2 months before release, I would play it on deck on low settings and 65% resolution to hold those 30 FPS better. Hopefully by release we can play it on medium at 30 FPS, that would be nice, because on medium I think it's a big visual advantage, at least when it comes to lighting and foliage. But at least right now, 2 months before release, all I can say is hopefully they can add FSR3 and XeSS instead of only TSR. I think it looks too chunky. But otherwise, I enjoy the combat a lot. I think it's a good mix of real-time and turn-based combat. The combat is turn-based, but when you have to get attacked, you can dodge and parry. So you have to be actively paying attention. But that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thanks again to Kepler Interactive for providing access to this preview and telling me to do whatever content that I wanted. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys. See you again in 2 months for the full game.